Cerasoli.
Okay. And good evening. Thank you. Now, when we evolve that much or grow that much, we will have a master gland. And that master gland will give us a tone. So if you think of an orchestra and think of each organ, which is musical, has its own player. Every organ has something to control it. We may not know that because we cannot understand that, but it's there. As every state has a governor, so does every organ have a governor. And the best way to understand this is by making parallels. Now, when you go to a symphony or any musical entertainment, and if you get there early enough, you will see the musicians coming on the stage, and they start playing, and they start practicing, but they're not tuned up to one tone, and so they sound squeaky. Finally, the person who tunes up comes out. If there's a piano there, the piano hits the A key, and everybody tunes up to that A key. Not the piano, then the first fiddle sounds out. But we must recognize that every organ has its own pitch. Like a saxophone, a tenor saxophone has a different pitch than what we call an alto saxophone. And these instruments, I think I remember the slide trombone, I used to know them all, is in B flat. So for his A to correspond or to parallel with the A of the master, he or she, who's ever playing the instrument, must hit the B flat to correspond with the A, and then they're in tune. And but we have no leader, no master gland. And if you read the Bible, I think it's at the end of Judges, and this is the way it's put. And Israel had no king, and each one did what he thought was right in his own eyes. You follow? So we're out of tune. And if the arm hurts, it's because it's not tuned up with other organs. So just imagine an orchestra doesn't tune up and starts to play. What would you get? Huh? You don't have to be a musician to understand what I just told you. So you see, that big tone is and every other tone, every organ has a law. Now this is not science, this is spiritual. And the other day I was listening to television and they're bringing the pharmaceutical houses up on charges because of the autism that's rising. One doctor said there was no scientific evidence that autism is caused by vaccination. So a lawyer was there. He said this is not a scientific issue, it's a legal issue. Because he didn't realize the law here. You see, in spirituality, there is no science. Everything is. And what the Spirit tells us is what we do. So, by going to a chiropractor and you take adjustments, or rather, I like to say you're being served by the chiropractor on the spinal column. It is being cleansed. It's like boom, yeah, tone, sonic waves. They use sonic waves to break up gallstones, but the kind of sonic waves that they use can be detrimental, can hurt other tissues. The same as chemotherapy may knock the cancer cells out, but also hurts other tissues. So I like what Tom said there about a substitute. Oh yes, Tom, the substitute is the one. Because if you go to the overstute, the landing out in space, and nobody wants to live in space unless somebody thinks that's a beautiful place. That out there is hell. Heaven is inside of us. Not out there, in us. So keep that in mind. And it's deep within us. So it's deep. Now last week I spoke of intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic is when something begins within, like the heartbeat. It begins within the heart. There's nothing hitting it, as you have, we say, a big bell, and you take a hammer and you hit it. That's extrinsic.